Business reporter Charles Gasparino shocked the political world yesterday when he reported that President Barack Obama is anxious about the rise of Bernie Sanders in national polls and is even considering making a public statement addressing it because he's so distressed about democratic socialism. As the days inch closer to the Iowa caucuses, I am again struck by the similarities to the 2016 presidential primary on the Republican side. Bernie is just like Trump, and that the entire Democratic establishment and media essentially spent the last year trying to convince themselves and everyone else that he's a joke. Ironically, this is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to him. He couldn't rely on earned media in order to get his message out, so he relied on social media instead. That ended up yielding him the largest organically acquired war chest in the entire primary. He's got plenty of staff, but it's as if he hardly needs them. The social media army of donors has also transformed themselves into one of the largest grassroots volunteer organizations seen since the 2008 Obama campaign. All of this was organized on the internet, completely without the support of the elite media, the DNC, or rich donors. So right now, when those three groups wake up, realize what's happening, they literally can't do anything. It's precisely what happened with Donald Trump. People basically called him a joke, dismissed his high poll numbers as a mirage until about a week before the Iowa caucuses. I was here in D.C. I'll never forget it. The phrase, "he might actually win," began to be whispered everywhere. But here's the thing. By that time, it was too late because Trump basically had all the same things going for him, absent the donors, since he was already rich. The train had already left the station. No amount of billionaire funding, never Trumpers on media, or even more could actually stop it. One of the signature moments of the establishment's last gasp against Trump was this moment.
Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the members of the American public for suckers. He gets a free ride to the White House, and all we get is a lousy hat.
How did that work out? Well, I think we all remember this iconic photo from a few short months later. Romney was shocked to find out that Trump actually knew a lot more about what GOP voters wanted than he did. Obama is in for the same lesson if he were to actually speak out against Sanders. Sanders' sky-high favorability ratings and trust ratings on the key issues of health care are exactly how GOP voters trusted Trump more than any other politician on the issue of immigration. Ultimately, this might even be a moot comparison. I don't think Obama will actually speak out against Sanders. A few other reporters said that other sources in Obama world scoffed at the idea that he might do so. So don't mistake this, though, for being okay with the Sanders candidacy. Instead, recognize it as self-interest. Bernie has favorability ratings and support amongst the youngest Americans who got especially screwed over by the Obama presidency. It would do long-term, massive damage to Obama's brand. And Obama, after all, has the Clinton enrichment route, except on steroids. Himself and Michelle Obama have basically turned themselves into vapid Instagram.
Let's break down a little bit of what this guy's saying. So he's indicating that Bernie Sanders has so many supporters on social media. Reddit is a place where people are able to congregate and share ideas. And Bernie's gained a lot of popularity there. Other sites like Twitter and Facebook, people are able to point out true, accurate information. The internet has been instrumental in allowing people to get information, not from CNN or Fox News, these sources that are owned by billionaires and are often going to be slanted. CNN doesn't often cover Bernie in a fair way, as we saw with the debates. He highlighted that the donor class, it's going to be too late for them to change anything by the time that Bernie potentially receives the nomination. A lot of them have this idea they can just keep throwing money at the politicians that they like, and that's going to be fine. And then he highlights that people view Bernie as a joke. If you've actually read Bernie's books, it's very evident that the man is intelligent, that he knows what he's talking about. If you read Our Revolution, he highlights statistics concerning wealth inequality, statistics concerning media conglomerates and how there are far fewer independent media channels today. He goes into things like climate change, goes into NAFTA, and basically highlights how the middle class really has been shrinking and how it's been being screwed over since about the 1970s, 1980s. Brings up Obama. If Obama were to speak out against Bernie, this would be one of the worst choices that Obama could potentially make. Obama's popular because he's well-spoken and he's charismatic, but understand that a lot of people remember the 2008 financial crash and the way that Obama bailed out those big banks. And understand these banks didn't have to give the money back. They didn't have any interest attached to it. They literally just received this money, while so many Americans were never bailed out. They lost their homes and that was it for them. When it wasn't their behavior that caused the crash the way that it was Wall Street and the extremely wealthy people in this country. A lot of people remember the Edward Snowden situation and understand that Obama is not a friend to American civil liberties when it comes to whistleblowers. Whistleblowers aren't protected. So Obama, he had a lot of good hype. He was good at giving speeches, but if he speaks out against Bernie, it's going to go bad for him. People keep coming after Bernie, and there's there's difficulty for some people to understand why he's so popular. Joe Rogan just endorsed him, and Bernie gladly accepted that endorsement. And people are saying, oh, look at what Joe Rogan said about trans people in the past. A lot of Joe Rogan stuff he's been saying, well, a trans woman, someone who is a man, then transition to try to become a woman, they shouldn't be competing against biological women in sports. They have a lot of testosterone. It's an unfair advantage. There's these LGBT activists that are outraged over that. They can't even believe, how could Joe Rogan say that? How could they say that? When in reality, most Americans feel that way. Even if they're not always vocalizing, it's kind of this unsaid thing. The majority of Americans, maybe it's a little hush-hush, but most Americans don't think that someone who transitions to being a woman should be competing against biological women. They have a lot of testosterone, and see all these records being broken. A lot of people are troubled about that. People care about the issues Bernie talks about. They care about wealth inequality. They care about climate change. They care about people being able to have affordable education. They're not concerned about hurting trans women's feelings because they can't play in the same sports as biological women. But again, there's a lot of reasons why Bernie is popular, and Obama trying to speak out against him would be detrimental to Obama's legacy and his popularity. Thanks for watching.